How's it going, everyone? Jeff Johnson from the Gazette here. KJ Pilcher and Jeff Linder are to my right, your left, if you're looking at us. So, we are here for another edition of the Iowa Prep Sports Football Podcast. We're going to talk about the semifinal round in the nice climate-controlled UNI-Dome in Cedar Falls, which after the last 2 weeks is a very good thing.
Yes,
I think.
positive.
So, what we learned, guys, just to start out with in the quarterfinals, if anything that just went out and grabbed you and shook you a little bit.
I don't think there were any real big surprises, were there? Williamsburg that grabbed me.
Some of us not.
I know. Was that W?
Yeah, try.
Yeah.
He gets free popcorn now. The rest every time he goes up there down to Williamsburg, so he's the man.
I am invited to their end of the season awards banquet, so
There you go.
pulled pork for everybody.
Wow, very nice. But they controlled that
no.
game though, right? They were ahead the whole way, 14-0, I believe, after the first quarter, and put it away in the third quarter, I think, and we're up. It was up 28-7 at one point. So no fluke.
No fluke, but you're looking at two classes, and of course, if you go back to the Gazette.com and check out JJ's rewind from last Friday, he points out that two classes that went, as you guys say, chalk. I was not aware of that term till last week when you guys started throwing it around. But yeah, it went chalk 1, 2, 3, 4 with the RPI. And I think, Linder, you're the one that kind of mentioned this at the start of the playoffs, that 1A was kind of a cluster of teams.
Mishmash.
Yeah, that's a good term. And you kind of see that a little bit. Not terribly, you still have number 1 Van Meter, number 3 West Sioux, and number 5 West Lyon, but Regina getting in there at number 11, was interesting. And who did West Lyon?
Maybe Dyke New Hartford.
Dyke New Hartford there as well. And we kind of thought maybe that was maybe a class where you would see some outliers kind of get in, and I think you see that a little bit there, and outside of Williamsburg knocking off number 2, Class 2A went kind of away, chalk-ish.
3A and 8 player are your chalks.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4 in the RPI made it to the semifinals. So does that mean that the RPI is working and that nothing needs to be fixed?
Oh, I'm not brave enough to say that.
I would say the RPI is working and they need a few minor tweaks.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I like that.
Perfect.
Let's look at let's go through all the classes here and talk a little bit about the semifinal games. Starting with 4A, where we have West Des Moines Valley, your number 1 team, your number 1 RPI team at 11-0, playing Bettendorf at 9-2. Bettendorf number 7 in the RPI, and then Cedar Rapids Kennedy number 5 plays 6-time defending state champion West Des Moines Dowling. Both teams are 10-1. Bettendorf beating Cedar Falls, I'd say, was kind of a surprise, but to me, not totally, because I don't know. I just saw Cedar Falls as a team that had given up some points during the season to a lot of teams, and Bettendorf was able to go into the Dome and win. So
it was only a 3-point game the last time around they played. So
that's right.
Not a big surprise.
The Valley Bettendorf game, by the way, will be Friday at 4 p.m. and Dowling Kennedy at 7. How are we looking at these guys? First of all, most important thing probably is, can Kennedy finally defeat the behemoth known as Dowling?
That's a loaded question. Sure, anybody can win right now. I mean, I think we've seen, Dowling look more human the last few years than maybe when the streak kind of started. They've had some close games, I think, with Bentdorf and then Cedar Falls the last couple of years. Yeah, I think this is probably Kennedy's best chance. That defense is phenomenal. And talking to the guys after the game, we continuously point out that they don't throw the ball as much, but they point out that, hey, we're winning, doing what we're doing. We do what we do well. It's up to somebody to stop us. And even in the game that they lost against Valley, I'm not so sure that Valley really stopped their rush attack. I don't think they did, even though Valley came out on top. The defense looked fantastic against Urbandale. I know it's a different level of offense that they're going to see this coming week. But if their defense continues to play the way it has, that aggressive style, and they really kind of bowed their necks a little bit when Urbandale threatened and forced them to kick field goals a couple times on first and goal situations that were big. If they do that and they continue to rush the ball down teams' throats, they're going to be in it.
Let's. I was just curious. So I looked at the number of passes that each team has thrown, and Dowling's thrown 104 times this season. Kennedy's thrown 86. So
it's not that big of a difference, is it?
Basically one pass a game, right? Or a little more than one pass a game. So we all know that Dowling's going to, pound Gavin Williams at you, and he's a home run threat. And their quarterback has had a great season, Hank Himrick, both rushing and passing, and I'm with KJ here. I think Kennedy certainly can play with Dowling, but playing with them and beating them, obviously, especially right now in this time of the year in UNI-Dome is a whole nother story. So, are we gonna pick, Nathan? Are we supposed to pick who we think are gonna get to the finals? All right, who we got in the finals here in 4A?
I'm gonna go all West Des Moines.
I think Boone finally gets their golden goose with Valley and Dowling facing in the finals. Dowling and Kennedy, again, that's a game I think Kennedy can win. They can win it. But, the king is still the king until you take his crown. So,
Do you think Boone wants a Valley Dowling final?
Oh, yeah.
I think they probably want whoever's going to bring the most people to the finals.
And
Is that Valley Dowling?
That's probably Valley Dowling.
I think so?
I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to also to say it's going to be suburban Des Moines affair here in the finals. And you know what? I can't remember what I wrote, but the last time Eastern Iowa team won the state championship was state championship at City High.
Is that the year they beat Marshall?
29, 09 or 10?
It was 09, I believe. So that's been a long time, boys. So
That was who was the kid that went down to North Texas?
Yeah,
AJ
McCreary.
Wasn't it? AJ Derby was the
Yeah,
was the
but they
star
had,
when
and
City High
then
was
the City High was in the finals 2 years in a row. They won them 1 year, and then the second year they lost
I think-
a close game to Valley. I think.
Okay. Well, the year they won it, they beat Marshalltown.
Yes,
McNulty, maybe?
McNulty.
There you go.
I think that's
Andrew
right.
McNulty.
Yep. So I mean,
Was
Eastern
the year they
Iowa,
won
you got a chance. Eastern Iowa's got a chance.
And
You're
that
going to be
was-
all Eastern Iowa final.
And that was actually an all-Eastern Iowa final, if you wanted to, technically east of I-35, because Marshalltown
Yeah.
was in the final that year.
East of State Center,
There,
right? We
Yep,
talked about that
that's-
the other day.
And Kennedy's never won a state championship. The Metros, the three public schools, there's Kennedy, Washington, Jefferson. There's only been one time public Metro schools won, and that was Jefferson all the way back in
72.
72.
And in the last 10 years, both Washington and Kennedy have gotten to championship games and been denied. So
This was something that we discussed at lunch, too. Kind of interesting side note. Kennedy's been to the semifinals 3 times. In 1993, Don Knock was their head coach, the father of Kyle Knock, who's actually been an assistant on Kennedy the last 2 times they made it in 2015 and this year. So the Knock family kind of had their hands in, helping Kennedy get to the semifinals the 3 times that they have. Kind of neat.
Let's head down to Class 3A. Our semifinals will be played on Thursday evening. First up at 5:30 is Western Dubuque, 11-0 against Council Bluffs, Lewis Central, 10-1. They are the number 2 and 3 RPIs respectively. Number 1 Solon, 11-0 plays Sergeant Bluff Luton, 10-1. Sergeant Bluff Luton was the 4. This was one of the classes where the RPI came out perfectly. Guys, I mean, we've been saying it all year. Western Dubuque has been our number 1, and I can't imagine we're going to change now. When we look at this, and you look at that Solon game, which starts at 8:30, hopefully, on Thursday night. Sergeant Bluff Luton, if you don't know about SBL, is a team that throws the ball a lot. Quarterback Daniel Wright has thrown for 2,700 yards and 30 touchdowns this season. So Solon's going to have to slow that down. SBL's only loss was to Lewis Central this season, 35-7, way back in the season opener. Lewis Central lost to Harlan in the middle of the season, 14-6. Do we have an all-Eastern Iowa final here, I guess is where I'm kind of heading with this, or all-Western Iowa final?
I'm going to say a little bit of both. I'm going to go with Western Dubuque and Sergeant Bluff Luton.
Really? What makes you think SBL will beat Solon?
I think they'll score more points. I don't know.
That's fair.
I don't know. Just a hunch. Sergeant Bluff can score a lot of points. I don't know. Solon's been playing awfully well. I mean, they really put it to Pella in the second round. So, just a hunch. I'm going to go Western Dubuque and Sergeant Bluff Luton.
KJ.
I'm going to go with the all-Eastern Iowa final. Western Dubuque's been my number 1 team all year, and thought certainly the winner was going to, at least the finalist, if not the state champ, was going to come out of the group of ball. Last time, I promise. The Solon defense has played very well, especially the last 4 weeks. Only given up 13 points over the last 4 weeks, and of course, as Lindy noted, a shutout against Pella last week. The thing that I thought has been interesting, we've kind of had colder, not inclement weather, but tougher conditions, harsher conditions the last 2 weeks with the cold, snow, rain, that kind of thing.
Inclement to me.
I agree, but the way Solon has won games here lately, they've been able to throw the ball, and then the last 2 weeks they've run the ball well, and their defense. So maybe Solon's becoming a little bit more versatile. Obviously, it's going to come down to their defense and Sergeant Bluff's offense. That's going to be the battle. Whoever wins that is going to win the game. I just have Solon and Western Dubuque meeting in the finals.
I do as well. But I'm tip my hat, if I had one, to Lewis Central, which got to the semifinals last season behind the great play of Max Duggan, who, if you don't know who Max Duggan is now at this point with college football and everything, I'm not sure what to tell you, but he is playing great as a true freshman at TCU. Minus him, they've still been able to the Titans have to get to this point again with a different style, a little more running. It appears you look at like a kid named Bryson Bowman has 1,361 yards, for instance, and 14 touchdowns. So good on Lewis Central for rebuilding and reloading, I guess, in this case, and getting back to the semifinals. With all that being said, I like Western Dubuque and I like Solon in an all 3A final here. So we'll see how accurate we are. Let's move down to Class 2A now for our next semifinals. It's number 1 walk-on, 11-0 against Williamsburg, number 11 in the RPI. The Raiders are 8-3. And then Battle of Unbeatens out from Western Iowa in Algona. And Odebold Arthur, Battle Creek, Ida Grove, otherwise known as OAB SIG. Number 3 against number 4 there in the RPI, respectively. So we've talked about Williamsburg. Jeff, you saw walk-on last week. Didn't play its best game. West Liberty really gave them a go.
Yeah.
In the quarterfinals, and I believe Coach Bierman kind of said after the game that they're going to have to play better.
Yeah, actually, that was one of the kids who yelled it, and we got to play better to do what we want to do, and they want to win a state championship. For most of probably 3/4, they weren't a state championship team last Friday. I think they'll play better. They did get 5 turnovers in the second half from West Liberty, but West Liberty was down 18-12 late in the third quarter and driving and fumbled it away at the 5. And if they go in and score and tie or take the lead, who knows? But I think Walk-On's going to play a lot better this week. I think they're going to have to play a lot better to beat a Williamsburg team that's playing really good football right now. And I'm going to go Walk-On and Algona as the finalists.
I'm going to agree with you on that. That second game, or is it the first game? I'll have to look at times here. 7 p.m. for Walk-On Williamsburg on Saturday, by the way. Algona and OAB SIG will play at 4 p.m. So, yeah, I like Algona and Walk-On here. KJ you've been talking Raiders all season long, and
I have.
you nailed it. They the three losses. You look at 2 of them. They're in the semifinals. Walk-On and Iowa City Regina.
Yep.
And West Branch was the other loss, and that's who Regina beat in the quarterfinals. So different classes, obviously, but who you like here? In the game?
Certainly, their resume has brightened up as the season has gone along. When you realize who those 3 losses were to, and how close they played 2 out of the 3. After that 1-3 start, they just have been able to make a lot of noise, and they've earned it this far, beating the number 5 Columbus team, and then going to Clear Lake and beating the number 2 team up there. Unfortunately, I think it comes to an end here. It wouldn't surprise me, especially the way you kind of mentioned the way Walk-On played last week and Williamsburg's going. There's a lot to say. I know people kind of crap on the idea of momentum, but with momentum comes confidence, and confidence definitely is a difference maker. And I'm sure they're confident and they believe in themselves right now. Caden Wetton put up 207 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. Last week I actually said it was going to be their defense that was going to keep them in the game, and here they go and score 35 points to win. So we'll see. But Walk-On's been my number 1 team all year. I was impressed with how they played last year and what they brought back, and they've never really slowed down. They picked up right where they left off at the end of last year and have played well. I just see a rematch of last year's quarterfinals in the Dome in the finals with Walk-On and Algona.
I would be remiss here if I didn't mention OAB SIG's quarterback, a young man by the name of Cooper Dijon, just a junior. Get this, guys. He is rushing and passing has accumulated almost 4,000 yards, and he has 57 touchdowns.
Wow. That's a lot of mustard.
That's 57 out of 63 that the team has.
Wow.
And yeah, so
He's a junior.
That's pretty impressive stuff right there. He's thrown for almost 3,000 yards and has over 1,000 yards rushing as well. So.
You know what I think is evident this year, and it's that way most years here recently. Sometimes I think in the past it was, okay, what can we do against this team to win? And I think you see with Kennedy's rushing game, obviously with Odebo Arthur, Battle Creek, Ida Grove, throwing the ball that many times. Teams are saying, this is what we do well. We're going to do it. We're not going to trick you. You stop us at what we do best, and we'll live with the results. And you see big numbers like that in the pass game. You see what Kennedy's able to do with the rush game. I just think it's an interesting philosophy. Hey, we're not going to, just because you have a tough defense, we're going to do what we do, and it's up to you to stop us. And if you do, so be it.
Let's move down to Class 1A for our next look in, we have top ranked and top RPI at Van Meter at 11-0. We didn't have them top ranked, did we? We had Dyke, New Hartford, right? Against Iowa City Regina at 9-2. Regina is the 11 RPI. And then that game, by the way, will be at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning at 1 p.m. Will be West Sioux 10-1 and West Lyon 10-1. That'll be a rematch, I believe, from the regular season. They are number 3 and number 5. We talked about Regina, 1 year away from the playoffs, but right back into the semifinals. This will be, I believe, 9th time in 10 years for the Regals to get to this point. They'll have to win this game without arguably their best player, certainly one of their best 2 or 3 players, and Alec Wick, who the wide receiver, defensive back, who unfortunately suffered a bad hip injury, dislocated hip. Catching a pass against West Branch, came down hard on his side and dislocated his hip and has had to have surgery. So he'll be done, obviously, for the season. We wish Alec happy and quick recovery on that. So you're taking a big weapon out of Regina's gun here, so to speak, against a Van Meter team that plays very good defense, and a Van Meter team, guys, that hasn't thrown an interception this season.
Wow.
So a team that plays clean football generally. Will the Regals still be able to pull this out? Do you like Van Meter, and who do you like in that rematch between West Lyon and West Sioux?
I think the loss of Wick really is going to hurt them. It's going to be hard for them to match touchdown for touchdown with a really good Van Meter team. I'm going to go with Van Meter. Other games just about a toss-up, and I think the winner of that other game is going to win the championship. I'm going to go West Lyon because that's who I had number 1 to start the season.
There you go. KJ, who do you have going to the finals here?
I think losing Wick is going to be a big influence in this game. I think Regina needed him in that offensive attack. It's going to put a lot of pressure on everybody else. They kind of pick up the slack there. Just like Van Meter. And then West Sioux, West Lyon. I'll go with West Sioux just because, unfortunately, I didn't have either one of them get to this point. So what the heck? West Sioux and Van Meter in the finals.
I tell you, Regina was able to run the football against West Branch, and honestly, that surprised me a little bit. And that was really the reason why the Regals were able to win the game. And
really?
That and returning the opening kickoff didn't hurt either.
Right.
That being said, I just like Van Meter here, especially with, as you said, Wick being out of there. It puts even more onus on junior quarterback Ashton Cook.
Yeah, and they've got playmates like Levi Quinlan.
Yeah.
I think he was the one that ran the
back.
They do have playmakers. It's just going to be a tougher challenge without Wick.
That's what I'm picking in that game is Van Meter, and I like West Sioux. I know what they always say, it's hard to beat a good team twice in one season. West Sioux won that game 35-28 over West Lyon. Kind of a divergence of styles. We know Hunter Deckers is the quarterback for West Sioux. Iowa State commit is going to pass the football. West Lyon's a power football team running wise, so it's kind of a different style there. But I'm going with West Sioux and Van Meter in the finals. Let's move down to Class A for our next quartet. It's top ranked, top RPI, West Hancock 11-0, playing Woodbury Central 10-1. Woodbury Central is number 6 in the RPI. That game will be at 1 p.m. on Friday afternoon. Friday morning at 10 a.m. will be St. Ansgar 11-0 and Grundy Center 10-1. St. Ansgar number 3 in the RPI and Grundy Center is number 5. You guys had it right, unfortunately. Grundy Center added the dream fairy tale season of MFL Marmac with a strong second half last week. I know we don't have a dog in this hunt, so to speak, area-wise, but I think we've had West Hancock, St. Ansgar 1-2 almost the entire way. Is there any reason now that either one of you guys is going to go a different direction?
No, I think they're head and shoulders above everybody else in the class. I'm going to go with the Saints and the Eagles.
KJ?
I'll go the same way.
Looking at St. Ansgar's stats, if this tells you anything, thrown 27 passes this season.
Mm-hmm.
That's two a game, not quite 3 a game.
That's a half for some teams.
Yeah, so they're going to run the football. They're going to run it, and they're going to run it some more. 4,364 yards on the ground for St. Ansgar this season. And, you know, West Hancock also just as potent on the ground. So
It's going to just be a slugfest. Could be one of the quicker games.
yeah, you know, I know Grundy Center's got a good running back.
Those media timeouts are going to be a lot longer for to get all the advertising in.
So yeah, I'm going West Hancock, St. Ansgar. No reason to change now, and I like those two teams to get to the finals in Class A. Class 8 player we talked about went chalk. So we've got number 1 Audubon 11-1 against Remsen St. Mary's 11-0. That's number 4 Remsen St. Mary's. And then a really interesting game to me, guys, in Turkey Valley and Don Bosco, just number 2 and 3 respectively. Both 11-0. The Audubon Remsen St. Mary's game will be at noon on Thursday. Turkey Valley and Don Bosco will play bright and early at 9 a.m. That's the game that I think we've kind of all been looking forward to for a while, and it's going to happen. So, what do you see? 98-97, maybe, with the prolificness of these. Prolificity.
You look on the other side, and Don Bosco's allowing 9 points a game, and Turkey Valley 14. So
there you go.
Movable.
I don't think it's going to be terribly high scoring. I think the winning team will probably be maybe in the 40s or 50s, which is still plenty of points. But it's just so hard to bet against Don Bosco this time of year, even with what Rockford did last year. I'm going to go with Don Bosco, and the other game's going to be a tremendous game. That's a rematch from week 1 or maybe week 0.
The 1 point game.
1 point game that Remsen St. Mary's won. I'm going to go with Audubon to flip that, and I'm going to go with the Wheelers and the Dons.
That was one of the RPIs that I didn't understand, and I think we talked about it in earlier broadcasts. But Remsen St. Mary's beats Audubon. Yeah, Audubon's the number 1 RPI, and Remsen St. Mary's is the number 4. But anyway,
Audubon's
so
district is a lot better.
There you go, and
the extra game. I think we pointed, or you mentioned that the extra game that they had added a few points.
KJ, do you believe that with Don Bosco and how it has dominated Eastern Iowa for the most part in 8-player, that a team like Turkey Valley has to have the belief that it can play with the Don Bosco? I believe they played in prior years. If I remember correctly.
I mean, for sure, that's the case in just about anything. If you, if you go out there doubting what you can do, you're already down 1 or 2 scores before the whistle blows. I mean, this is a team that's gone out and taken care of business. I'm not sure what head-to-heads have been like since they both have been 8 players. But, you have to believe, and you don't get to be 11-0 without believing, you can take down Goliath. I'm not saying Don Bosco's Goliath by any means, but, you take the field thinking you can beat anybody, or else you don't stand a chance to begin with. So, sure, and the way they move the ball, we've talked about it in previous webcasts that, they spread the ball around. This isn't a one-trick pony as far as, key on one person, because that's where the rock is going. God, I just said rock.
I love it.
No, that's bad. But anyway, they can beat you with a lot of different weapons. We've pointed out, Ellsburn and Leibold and, Reichs and those guys. They really distribute the ball well, and they play strong defense as well. I think a lot of attention is on offense with both teams. Don Bosco's forced 19 interceptions to boot this year. You have to believe it, or it's not going to come true. It's just, turning that into an actual tangible victory is another story as well.
And the 8-player game can get away from you so fast. Yeah. You can't afford. I mean, Don Bosco's going to make some plays, but you can't let them score 3 touchdowns in 4 minutes or something like that, which I'm sure they do quite a bit. They're going to take care of the ball. That's cliche. I think they're going to have to use that running attack to kill some clock, and they're going to have to finish those drives. It's doable, but boy, Don Bosco's just been playing so well lately.
You mentioned last year kind of the abrupt ending for Don Bosco.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to sit with those guys too, a little bit. And they've got a nice little duo with Thomas Even and Kale Frost.
I think they were beat up last year too by the end of the season, if I remember correctly.
So I'm sure Colby Yoder's letting them know about how last year finished off and how not to do that as well. But I'm going to go with Don Bosco against Turkey Valley. And then on the other side, I really have to say this. I apologize. My sister and her family are Audubon folks. I hope you let me come back to see Albert the Bull sometime, even though I'm going to go with Remsen St. Mary's.
Oh boy.
Sorry, Wheelers. Remsen St. Mary's it is. I've got the all parochial school final, which will make a lot of people in the state happy, I'm sure.
I like Audubon. Pilcher family, you're cool with me, right?
Go, roll, Wheelers, roll.
Yes, okay. Yes. I like Audubon to get Remsen St. Mary's this time around. Comparative scores, guys. Don Bosco's closest game was last week against Easton Valley. It won by 39 points. Turkey Valley's closest game, also against Easton Valley, was 72-62, 10-point spread. So, that being said, I'm going with Don Bosco to get to the finals here. So, KJ and I will have duty this weekend, so look us up Twitter-wise. We'll have all kinds of stuff. You're working on some previews going into the week. At KJ Pilcher on Twitter, at JEJE66 from myself.
We'll have something each day leading into the finals, whether it's a feature or a capsule, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So look for those at Gazette.com.
And JT Linder, at JT Linder on Twitter, he's laying low this week. Just he'll have like 126 volleyball matches to cover at the state tournament starting Tuesday. We're taping this on Monday. So, well, let's have some fun indoors this time around, huh, guys? All have a good match.
72 and sunny, and Happy Veterans Day.
Yes, and thank you to all of our veterans out there. Thank you to our veteran, Nathan Ford.
That's nice.
Our man.
Nice segue, nice transition, like that.
For like everything. Yeah, thanks. Say it, KJ.
Keep your head on a swivel.